Hello everybody, welcome back to Channel Swoo. My name is Jared, and we have another, and what might be the final Secrets of Power draft. Since this was the last draft of the season, we're looking to do something a little wackier, hopefully this time around, as we get our leaders pulled out of the base. Once again, want to give a huge thank you to Zulu's Board Game Cafe here in Bothell, Washington for hosting the event and allowing me to film and record. So we have our leaders here, Mon Mothma, Jabba the Hutt, and Sabe. And people who have watched the channel before or know me know my favorite leader is easily Jabba. But what I'm kind of hoping to do is actually take the Sabe here, especially looking at the seat that's going to be passing to me. They have a Bale, a Dedra, and a Yularen, and I know I can probably get at least one villainy unit out of them. So I want to take the Sabe because I actually really want to draft Sabe. And that's what I'm aiming for. Like, I want to draft Sabe. It's a deck I haven't done before, and I really want to do that. Obviously, we just keep the Yularen, and then we still get a Slime more out of it. So some decent options here. I want to do Sabe. I would love to do Slime more too. And then we have Colonel Yularen as a reliable backup. Just always a solid choice. Nothing ever really wrong with that. But yeah, like if it's like towards the end of the season, I've been at that point where I'm ready to move on to the next format for sure. And if we can, I would love to draft something a little wackier, a little off meta, just to try things out and see if this is something that could be viable or get good information going into the Milwaukee Regionals. So with that in mind, my mindset is clearly on Sabe, probably Sabe Red. I think she pairs best with Aggression, and then I could do Slime more Red as well. And we got our opening pack. Yeah, there's Cruel Commandos, easy one of the best of green cards. Also a Death Trooper, but none of my cards really pair well with blue. Zam Wessel is not really something I want to first pick. I do like Condemn, and there's also a Vice Admiral Rampart. You can kind of see me thinking it over here because normally I'm not a huge fan of Vice Admiral Rampart, at least in, say, like a Jabba the Hutt deck, because usually you're not so aggressive that he can really pay off. But I do have Colonel Yularen and Vice Admiral Rampart doing a lot of attacks and getting experience tokens out with that Disclose could be good. It is a green villainy Disclose, which is a lot. So it's between him or the Cruel Commandos, and I'll take the Vice Admiral Rampart. But you could always find more Cruel Commandos, you know, rare versus common. Diplomatic Immunity is actually a pretty decent upgrade in blue heroic. Just give us something +2/+2 for 2. Umbran Mobile Cannon is also a solid blue card, but again, not really looking to be blue if we can help it. You can see me pulling Kazuda to the front here because I actually do think that could be a very solid Sabe card. It's basically a 4/6 for 4, and that's way above rate. Very, very solid. Otherwise, the Bravo Squadron unit, if I really want to kind of get deeper into yellow. And there was also a Let's Call It War, but I think the Kazuda is just a stronger card, you know, just attacks harder, hits harder. And I'll go with that one because, again, I still really want to do Sabe. A Let's Call It War would not be necessarily the wrong pick because that could go with all 3 leader choices. You know, Sabe Red, Yularen Red, or Slime War Red. I wouldn't fault you for that. But again, since I am trying to do something a little different, I'll get something that I think is going to be good for Sabe. General Grievous is not a particularly good card. There's another Cruel Commandos in the 3rd pick and a Dogmatic Shock Squad. So already the 2 drafters on the seats to my right, I don't really have them on green villainy at all because passing over Cruel Commandos or even a Dogmatic Shock Squad, like those are some very good cards. Now the drafter to my right has Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and a Slime more. And I, in my head, put them on having and trying to draft the Slime more. So I'm going to take the Cruel Commandos, and I think begrudgingly I might end up going more towards Yularen. There's a Charge with Treason in there, which I'm not heavy red enough to really want to pick that up early. Lurking Snubfighter surprises me to be in this pack still, because I assume the drafter to my right is doing Slime more. And if that's still there, I'm like, what do they take that could be better than that for a Slime more? Because I actually really like this Lurking Snubfighter. get that exhaust, get a space unit. However, we'll do the Enforcer Squadron here, because again, at this point, I'm already feeling like I don't think I'm going to be able to Sabe. I think I'm going to get forced into like a green-red Yularen. Charged with Corruption is also excellent, but there's also FN Trooper Corps. I do like the Velsartha if I was going Sabe or Slime War. This pack has 2 Death Troopers. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm already thinking, what's going on? There is a Daba Drafter 2 seats to my right. What did they see that they took over 2 potential Death Troopers? And now I'm thinking, like, is Blue Villainy open? Do I want to go for that? Charged with the Corruption is solid, but I also really like having the FN Trooper Corps because that is one of the best units that you can plot out, especially with Colonel Yularen. It uses up all your resources, you get an experience token out, and if you can put that experience token on Yularen, then he's a 5/7 right away, and that gives you a lot of power and a lot of stats. So I'm going to go with the FN Trooper Corps here over the Charged with Corruption. Again, not entirely sure how much green I'm going to end up with. If this is towards the end of the pack, maybe I could have a more informed opinion, but I think the FN Trooper Corps is a little safer. Here we have an A-Wing. And again, you see me pull it to the front where I'm just like, oh man, can I still do yellow? But then in the back of the pack, another Cruel Commandos. A pick 6 Cruel Commandos? That has to be one of the strongest signals I've ever seen, right? I have to take the Cruel Commandos. That puts us with 2 5/5 Sentinels at 5 plus an FN Trooper Corps. So like the green's already shaping up really, really nicely here. Now we gotta look up for some potential follow-ups. And there's Atreus Acolyte. Which again, after seeing those Death Troopers, I'm thinking, is Blue Villainy open? And if that's the case, can I do Blue Villainy? I don't see a lot of green in this pack. I'm going to take the Atreus Acolyte because that is one of the best 2 resource drops you can get. There's a Consular's Cruiser here. And look at this. There is basically no red at this point. Some solid yellow, absolutely, but no red. So moving out of red was a correct choice. I'll take the Consular's Cruiser. Man, I don't know how the rest of the pack is going to go at this point, but no matter what, at the 5 resource turn, I'm going to have a play with some solid Sentinels or the FN Trooper Corps. There's another Condemn, or is that my Condemn wheeling around? That might be my Condemn wheeling around. Yeah, that is my Condemn wheeling around. And because that has made it all the way back to me, I can't help but feel Blue Villainy is open. Well, I did say to myself, I want to do something different. Yularen Blue is kind of different. Not his usual pairing, and I don't think he pairs the best with it, but not impossible either. Diplomatic Unit Immunity and Galen Urso are also still here, so Blue Heroic could also be open. Can't really play those, though. I'll take the Bardotan Ornithopter, because now I am interested in picking up additional blue cards for Condemn. Sure, the Ornithopter can draw me an extra card too, but I would much rather have ways of getting the disclose cost for Condemn. There's an ASP Laborer Droid and the Congress of Malastare. I'll take another blue card. And here we just got a lot of clunky cards. However, you will notice if you look over on the left, all my picks for the first pack, I currently only have 1 2-drop. It's a solid one with the Atreus Acolyte, but that's about it. So now I'm already thinking, okay, I've got some good power. Green certainly seems open. Blue could be. I think it's up there. However, I'm not really seeing a lot of early turn plays that I'm going to be happy with. If we can open up and see some Imperial Dark Troopers or get Imperial Dark Troopers passed to us, that would be the most ideal. That's what Colonel Yularen wants to see, just the 3 3s for 2. But I don't know if we're going to get that. So, doing a quick review here. Picking up that much green and getting that late Cruel Commandos or even that late of Consular's Cruisers does make me think green is open, and then I could start focusing that a bit heavier, and then it's going to be even easier to do Vice Admiral Rampart's Disclose and start getting experience tokens out on units. Especially if I can keep picking up solid 2 resource plays, 3 resource plays, and just get that good curve out. Something like the Imperial Dark Troopers, or even a Daro Commando. making that into like a 4/5 with Overwhelm after the experience tokens go out. Let's go into pick 2. Oh, there's the Daro Commando, just like I was saying. Hunting Assassin Droid I do like a lot and would be great if I was in red at all. There's a second FN Trooper Core and an Arinda Price. I am not a fan of Kino Loy at all personally, so I'm not really interested in that one. So it comes down to Daro Commando or the FN Trooper Core. There is a Donnie Pilgrim, which you could argue could take for an early turn play, but it's just such a weak card. Not really one I want to do. Second FN Trooper Core though? Yes. So my 5 slot is getting pretty stuffed, but it's all with premium stuff. And never past a Shadow Crawler, just right at the front. Gonna be hard to find something I want to take over this. There's a Jar Jar Binks, Rotunda Senate Guard, another Bardone, Sly Moore. Yeah, more solid options, absolutely. None are stronger than the Shadow Crawler. And I still take that over the Jar Jar Binks, because even though Jar Jar Binks does cost 2, he's not really a 2-drop. He's a plot card. You want to get him in your resource, so when you deploy your leader, you can play him from there. You don't really want to play him on turn 1. There's a Crucible, which I'm personally not that big of a fan of as a card. But there's a second Shadow Crawler. I do think people overrate Crucible a little bit, because often the games go in such a way where that comes down where you maybe only get like 1 extra experience token out of it, versus second Shadow Crawler, which when that hits the field will always do something. Another Dogmatic Shock Squad. As tempting as that is, I have plenty of Sentinels, and again, I don't have a lot of early turn plays. There's a Viper Probe Droid. Mazamita could be alright. Gives me an extra plot, an extra 4 resource. But, man, do I need turn 1 units. And I think I need to be disciplined here and pick something that my deck needs over the really, really fun stuff. And I don't feel Viper Probe Droid is that strong of a turn 1 play. It is something. And right now, I just need something. So we'll take the Viper Probe Droid. That's a disciplined pick, right? Where there are other cards that are more fun or stronger, but I need to start grabbing things that my deck needs. Rotunda Senate Guards, Naboo Security Force, Nubian Starskiff. Again, just a lot of great cards here that would all be excellent in this deck. Sadly, none of them are units that cost 2. So I'm going to miss out on finding another turn 1 play, but that's okay. I'm going to take the Nubian Starskiff, because that's another great unit to play the turn before you deploy Colonel Yularen. Yularen is an official, so then the Nubian Starskiff also gets restored too. The Rotunda Senate Guards are also alright, but I'm not really looking to be that defensive with Yularen. I'm trying to beat down. And again, knowing I already got 2 Crew Commandos, I know I've got a solid amount of Sentinels. Alderaanian Envoys and Wilro Hood are basically my only choices. Hood and the Envoy is just not really a Yularen card. I could see it for Jabba, but not what Yularen wants to do. So we're gonna take Yularen Hood just as another pretty dorky 3 resource unit. Okay, there we go. There's a Senate Warden. There's a turn 1 play. There's also a Supreme Consul's Aid. And between the 2, I wouldn't fault the Senate Warden, because that is another blue card you could disclose for Condemn. But it's also not that strong of a card, and I'm not that big of a fan of it. So I took the Supreme Consul Aid because it costs 1. And sometimes I can just play that as to make sure I'm maximizing my resources versus the 2/2 for 2 that I don't have enough blue that's going to trigger a whole lot. Take the ISB shuttle here. Increase my green count. And sometimes I'll get a spy out of it. Political Bully. And Donnie Pilgrim. Neither are great. So there I do take the Donnie Pilgrim. Again, just to make sure I got those early turn plays. Sly Moore and Bardone Ornithopter are back. There's also the ASP Laborer Droid, which isn't that strong in Colonel Yularen, and it's neutral aspect, so it's not helping with discloses at all. But it is a turn 1 play, and it could get some experience, so maybe we'll take the ASP Laborer. If I can make it into a 2/5 restore one, you know, that's not too bad. Well, maybe, right? And there we go. This pack just has nothing for us. Nothing I would want to play out of Aspect either, but... So I'll hate draft the Garinden, so no one else can have it. So even in this pack, we're still just not seeing great or exciting turn 1 plays. Mazamita did wheel around though, so that's a nice little bonus. Don't mind that. And so did Naboo Security Force. You can even see my hand there like, what? What do you mean? Pick 14 Naboo Security Force is wild to me. That is such a great pickup. Which again just signals to me that green is very, very open at this whole table, and I'm getting just premium green cards. Yeah, just beautiful. All this deck needs is turn 1 plays. What it's also lacking, which you may notice, is events. I really don't have anything for interaction. Whether it's the charged with corruption, retaliation, charged with murder, even like knowledge and defense, Ferrix Uprising. I don't have any really good events worth playing right now. So I'm keeping that in mind going into pack 3 here. There's a Diplomatic Envoy, which can be a turn 1 play, but it's not a particularly strong one. Corporate Warmongering, like that one's I could play. And there's not a whole lot else here in this pack. So there's Corporate Warmongering, a Congress of Malice Dare if I really want to get some more blue. Diplomatic Envoy has a decent chance of reeling back around if no one else is really playing green. I don't love it, but yeah, I just kind of want to make sure I'm getting 2 drops. I don't love playing that one on turn 1 either, because that's one really, if you could play it later and maybe use it as a disclosed so you can get ambushed to something else, feels a bit better than just getting a 2/2 down for 2. Like that 2/2 for 2 is just so below rate. All right, there's a Thunderous Applause. That's something. There's also Nimble Prowess. There's a little bit of interaction. Another Viper Probe Droid. The personnel character carrier is not a particularly good card. So it comes down to between the Probe Droid and the Nimble Prowess. I'm going to take the Probe Droid because I kind of need that more right now. 3rd Probe Droid. Could I be that greedy for that many Probe Droids? Or a Daro Commando. I took the Daro Commando because I already got 2 Probe Droids. 3 would be ridiculous. And I'm still thinking I can find better 2-drops than that. Surely. Surely I can. Escape Pod's basically unplayable. I do like Disciple's Devotion. Hut Cartel Starfighter would also be solid. Another Rotunda Senate Guards. Yes. A couple of solid blue picks in here. Even the Hut Cartel Starfighter, I don't mind either. It's a 3/3 in space for 3. We'll take the Rotunda Senate Guards though. Just another good on-curve beater, plus a little bit of base protection. Surprising amount of Sentinels in this Yularen deck so far. There's another Political Bully, Alderaanian Envoys. Ugh. Just a big stinker of a pack. You can kind of see me going through all the different colors and thinking to myself, is there anything here that I want to play out of Aspect? Sadly, no. We'll take the Political Bully, I guess. Don't love it. Especially since I don't have that many officials. And now it could. Again, we got the Yularen. He was at least always a consistent official. Ooh, a Hyperspace Galen. Another Consular's Cruiser. And an Ando Commission. My options here are basically Consular's Cruiser or the Ando Commission. I really can't play anything else. I could rare draft that Hyperspace Galen though. That's kind of tempting. But yeah, generally a pretty rough pack for us. But at least what is there is good. It's not either Ando Commission or the Consular's Cruiser. And you kind of see me thinking it over here. I ended up taking the Consular's Cruiser, which I do think is the right choice. I got plenty of ground Sentinels already. With the Cruel Commandos, Naboo, Security Force, the Rotunda Senate Guards. second Nubian Star Skiff or the Hardtail Starfighter. I took the Starfighter just to keep my curve a bit lower. My 4 drops are so jam-packed with things. Okay, there's a Sith Assassin. It's another 2 drop. He's basically a slightly worse probe droid. I need something, so we'll take that. This pack's got nothing. That's a late Warrior Clan Ordo, which almost makes me wish I ended up in red, but not quite. Yeah, there's really nothing in here. Inspiring Senator is just off rate and not particularly good. And I know I don't have a whole lot of events or upgrades or anything else, so we'll do the clandestine connections. Maybe sometimes I get to pump some resources into that and to get some extra base damage, but yeah, that's me taking that just because like I have no other interaction. Wow, late Jade Squadron Patrol too. Another Araxian assembly. Ending up with a lot of 5s. Remote Escort Tank, Zenuous Shadow Fighter, just a lot of cards we're not going to play, so we'll take the Remote Escort Tank so that other people at the table can't have it. This is going to be a Yularen blue deck that's going to be very thick on the top end. Nothing here really worth playing, but Hyperfoil Galleon, whatever. Sure, that's something. And a couple of more cards at the end that aren't really going to matter. So, interesting draft. Didn't go how I thought it would at all. Even not necessarily the bad thing. We were pretty successful in figuring out what our early color was. So let's take a look at what the finished deck looks like. Yeah, like, that's so many 5s. Like, that is a lot of 5s. However, they're all good 5s, aside from maybe the Congress. And then, like, the top end looks great too. So this is basically a Yularen blue deck. It's basically Yularen green. Blue's there to kind of help, mostly. But for the most part, we just got a solid green deck. I do wish I had better aggressive plays. Let's go into the first match. This is me versus Ethan. Ethan is actually one of the employees of Zulus, and my second round opponent versus in the limited PQ that I won a couple of weeks ago. Ethan is on Jabba the Hutt yellow, which is not a combination you see very often and not one that I have played at all. So I'm very curious how a yellow Jabba plays out. And with our opening hand and resources set, Ethan begins with the initiative and leads off with a Sith Assassin. And I'll go Probe Droid. Get to see his hand right away. He's got a Hutt Cartel Starfighter, a Cantabile Arrestor Cruiser, and a Bardone Ornithopter. That Arrestor Cruiser, having that information now is actually kind of handy because that's something that I know that I'm going to have to deal with at some point in the future. Like, that is going to stay in the hand until Ethan can play it. And then a quick initiative take for Ethan. You do some resources. He's going to lead off with that Death Trooper, which was not in his hand. Sadly, so he just drew that, which is pretty frustrating for me because absolutely that Viper Probe Droid would be used to take out that Sith Assassin. I follow up with the Daro Commando, though, which is actually not too bad against this board. It does get the first damage against my base, and since the Death Trooper took out my unit, it does let me easily claim initiative. And I'm Colonel Yularen, which means claiming that initiative and then keeping it is going to be pretty easy for me. Since the Daro Commando has a choice of taking out either the Death Trooper or the Sith Assassin here, and will survive the attack. But I think what we want to do is use that to take out the Death Trooper, because it does overwhelm for a couple more points of damage, and more importantly, makes it so that Ethan does not have a damaged unit that allows him to activate Jabba's ability to ping more damage onto my units. And since I've got the initiative, that's probably what I'm going to do here. And this should work out in such a way that Daro Commando, just this one unit, ends up trading out for both of these. Yep, there we go. An attack into Daro. Overwhelming for 2. Keeps me in the damage race a bit. Could see Sith Assassin going to base here just to keep more pressure on me versus taking out the Daro. Ethan already kind of contemplating cards in his hands. He's got that Bardone Ornithopter and also has the Senate Rotunda Guards. Yep, there's that base damage. Then for 4, I do my own Bardone and I show the Condemn. Let me draw an extra card, and having that in hand is great because there's my Cantwell Resto Cruiser answer. And then Ethan responds with his own Bardone, showing me that the Cantwell is indeed still there. So we both draw an extra card. Now, of course, I have Condemn, but I need to have Blue and Villainy to be able to disclose for it. And it looks like I have mostly green cards, so that might adjust what my resource decisions are going to be, and it absolutely does. Whenever, through these games, because I have Condemn, if I'm caught between like a super medium green card and a super medium blue card, I'm absolutely going to put the green card down, keep that blue in hand, have something for Condemn when I need it. And I'm going to need it when that Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser comes down. I do have initiative, which means I can lead off with some easy Colonel Yularen activations and pump some base damage into Ethan. So we go into the 5 resource turn. Yep, Yularen's activated. It's probably more correct to go to base here. Yep. Again, because otherwise, if we hit the Bardone Ornithopter, that leaves an easy Jabba activation to just finish my Ornithopter. So now we're both at 6 base damage. And we both have Ornithopters down. Just like that, parity. Later turns are still looking a little dangerous. Again, Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser for Ethan is so good, so anything I get down will just be trouble. Here we have Jabba Deploy, which will help out that Ornithopter. And then he plots out the wrong ride, exhausting 2 of my resources. This is the first time I've ever seen that card played against me. And this actually really screws up my turn. I was going to deploy Yularen and be able to plot something out. And just like that, completely flips it. And now that Ornithopter can attack into my Ornithopter and easily just take it out with its attack power and the Jabba activation. And this puts me a little stuck. Because now it's, do I still deploy Yularen and then miss out on my plots? And I end up going the Condemn on the Ornithopter just so that it can't attack into my Ornithopter and get that easy trade, and I keep something on board. I do end up still deploying Yularen because, quite frankly, I need to start hitting Jabba. When Jabba deploys, the faster that you take that out, the better. And I really need to take out Jabba. Yeah, it's possible that we go with the Condemn play because I have other means of handling the Arrestor Cruiser in my hand. I could have my Consular's Cruisers. I didn't quite catch what my hands is on the video. Yep. Okay, so we got Cruel Commandos and Rotunda Senate Guards in hand, which does give me the Disclose. So the Ornithopter did hit my Ornithopter, so attacks for 0, takes 3 damage back, allowing Jabba to put 3 damage on Yularen. which is definitely the correct choice, because I am going to use that Yularen to keep beating down right into Jabba. Ethan still has 2 resources up. Contempt for Culture. Deal 2 damage to Yularen, defeat him, and make a spy. That is a huge bummer for me. All I can do is claim initiative from there. Thankfully, thanks to my disclose, we know I've got some very strong sentinels that I can use to slow down that ground game for sure. But yeah, that Jabba plot card, making me exhaust resources, forced me into a really awkward turn. And you know what? If the deck had more 2 resource units, there's a good chance I would have had one in hand that I could still deploy instead of having to play out Condemn. But that's alright. I do get to use my Ornithopter to take out their Ornithopter. Condemn is gone, which sucks. But it was either that or not use up my resources. And trying to slow down damage a bit so I have a moment to stabilize, probably the correct choice. Yep, then the spy comes in. Let's play the Cruel Commandos that they already know about. And sadly, that's probably going to be the only thing I get to do this turn. Cruel Commandos is not really stopping a lot of damage coming in, since all that's left is the Jabba. Jabba only attacks for 2. But what this does do is say, well, I have something to kill Jabba with, unless you respond. To which he does with a Dogmatic Shock Squad. A very strong response. That is a 4/6 Sentinel. So now Cruel Commandos can't really attack it, and if it does, it deals at 5, and it survives, allowing Jabba's ability to deal 5 damage elsewhere. That's pretty brutal. You can see my hand, there's a lot of strong Sentinels, 2 Consular's Cruisers, Rotunda Senate Guards, Political Bully, Nubian Starskiff. A lot of good space units, but right now, my ground game is in trouble. And I had the first action. See, I don't even think I attack here. Just asking for myself for Cruel Commandos to be cleared out, allowing Shock Squad to get in. So if Cruel Commandos were to attack, yeah, it just leaves Ethan open to do a lot of nonsense. Because then they can clear it out with the spy, Jabba and the Dogmatic Shock Squad can get in. Whereas if Cruel Commandos doesn't attack, this stops Jabba and the spies from coming in, and the Dogmatic Shock Squad would have to put all the damage on there, leaving the Ornithopter up. There's the Canterville Arrestor Cruisers coming in, and it's going to target the Cruel Commandos, make it so that they can no longer unexhaust and ready while the Canterville Arrestor Cruiser is in play. It's kind of good news for me. It is a 6/7. I've got a 3/4 up in space already. And then I get the Consular's Cruisers down, which probably not the best choice here, as this does allow the Dogmatic Shock Squad to attack in, and then they can use the Jabba ability with the Cruel Commandos to take out the Consular's Cruiser. I do have a second one in hand, so you could argue that this is just baiting this out. Yep, all I can do is claim initiative 2 resources I can't play. Spy finishes off the Cruel Commandos. Jabba gets in. I'm at 12 base damage. So that puts me at 12 base damage, Ethan at 9. Surprisingly, not a lot of base damage going back and forth. But Ethan is still very much ahead on board. If he attacks with everything this turn and I can't stop it, I'm looking at going up to 24 base damage. Oof. But now with the Cruel Commandos defeated, the Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser is just a big space beater. If we did talk about this after the game, but I think a mistake was using the Cantwell Cruiser to exhaust down the Cruel Commandos because they didn't really have good attacks anyway. Whereas the Bardotan Space Thopter could potentially start threatening damage against the Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. So perhaps a better target for it would have just been stopping the Ornithopter so that the cruiser has a clearer line of just getting to base. So can I use that mistake to stop Ethan here? And the first thing I do is actually put down the Arrestor Cruiser, which again, I think that was a mistake on my end. Because that allows him to defeat the Bardotan Ornithopter. And that still has 3 hit points remaining. It did prevent me from taking some base damage, but an Ornithopter attack first, and then playing the Consular's Cruiser would have been significantly better. I would have to take the base damage, yes, but that would at least set up something for the next turn. I did get to use up all my resources this phase. Now Lone Shark comes in and ambushes into the political bully. And now I'm just really far behind. 6 damage into base, I'm up to 18. And Ethan also plays the Rotunda Senate Guards. So having to stop the Arrestor Cruiser and a pretty strong ground game, and yeah, I just can't do it. Couple of mistakes on both sides, and I think the biggest thing here was I was not able to take out Jabba fast enough. That deploy turn and exhausting my resources really wrecked me and put me in awkward places. And maybe I should have just let the Ornithopter go and still hold on to the Condemn for that Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser in the future. Probably. I think I got pretty greedy on those attacks. But we learned for game 2. Here we are, hands are ready, and I start off with a familiar probe droid. See Ethan's hand. Zenua Shadow Fighter, Knowledge and Defense, a Hutt Cartel Starfighter, and a Grand Admiral Thrawn. Alright, well, Thrawn's a little scary. So before we had Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser being a late game threat, now we have a Grand Admiral Thrawn looking pretty spooky. Seeing that Knowledge and Defense feels bad too, because that is most likely going to be his 3 resource play, which just takes out my probe droid and puts him up a card. Well, I'll claim initiative. Gonna get that Viper probe droid attack before it's too late. Get 3 damage onto Ethan's base. He responds with dealing 2. I just play out Political Bully, because I got nothing else. And he finds Death Trooper again, allowing him to just take out the probe droid. Thankfully, we could just use Political Bully to take out the Death Trooper because he's not doing much else, and I don't really care about him. Unless there's a Mazamita in hand. And Political Bully isn't official. I don't believe I've been able to resource an FN Trooper Core yet. So there is an attempt to maybe hold on to a Mazamita, potentially going into the next turn, resource that instead. But I think, no, let's go Mazamita. Now my Political Bully's a 3-4. So that looks a little better. This gives me a way of dealing with the Death Trooper and leaving a threat on board. And this also means that Ethan isn't able to attack that Death Trooper into Political Bully or Mazamita in a profitable way that takes my units out. He's got that knowledge and defense in hand. So I think there's a contemplation there on, is it worth playing to shrink down like the Political Bully or Mazamita so a Death Trooper can trade into it? I think if he had a Rotunda Senate Guards, he would have dropped it right away. If his plan is knowledge and defense, that does mean he has the resources available to use Jabba the Hutt, activate his ability, ping a point of damage somewhere. You can see him flipping that knowledge and defense, trying to figure out the best way that he can utilize that card this turn. And all my resources are spent, so he doesn't have to worry about anything else coming from me. He could knowledge and defense the Political Bully, which could potentially save him some base damage, but then the Bully can still take out the Death Trooper, which would leave him card neutral, since knowledge and defense replaces itself. He's not really going down a card in exchange or going up, really. Yep, just ends up doing the damage to base, and we'll take out Death Trooper. And we saw the knowledge and defense with the probe droid earlier, and I think I'm fine with this exchange, since if he spends all the resources just doing that, it also means he's not really playing anything else super strong. Like, there wasn't a Rotunda Senate Guard, so if he had that, he definitely would have just dropped it right away. So now all he's got is a 2-2 in space, and the rest of my plays look better. So now, I've got the initiative on the flip turn, and I'm going to pop Yularen right away, because quite frankly, I don't want to get my resources exhausted again. But there we got the FN Trooper Core. So Yularen comes out, FN Trooper Core comes out. We're going to put the experience on Mazamita. So now I've got 2 4/5s and Colonel Yularen. Plus with the experience on Mazamita, that means Yularen can attack and then use his leader on attack ability with Mazamita. Since it does have to be something that costs 4 resources or less, Yularen can't combo with the FN Trooper Core like that. I send both into those Senate Guards. Because again, so long as there's not really units there, Jabba's ability doesn't do much. And Jabba taking out Yularen, I actually love. Because this makes Yularen's on attack, or his leader activated ability, better. Because it can be any unit with a unit that costs less than it. So now I can activate Yularen, attack with FN Trooper Core, and attack with Mazamita in one swing. Versus if he had taken out, say, Mazamita and left the Yularen on board, I can only attack with Yularen or FN Trooper Core, not both. Yep, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Take out Jabba right away and push 4 damage onto Ethan's base. And the FN Trooper Core only takes 2 back. So already I'm in much better position than I was in the previous game. I've got a decent amount of ground power Jabba the Hutt is already defeated before he starts playing powerful Sentinel units like Dogmatic Shock Squad, or even getting down like the Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. What we do have to worry about, though, is Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's definitely still in Ethan's hand. We saw it at the beginning, and that's definitely not going to go away. That's likely going to be one of his best win conditions. So I need to find ways of getting damage in and taking care of that before Grand Admiral Thrawn comes down and starts causing problems. The second Knowledge and Defense, taking out Mazamida. And what do I have for 6 resources? So I see Cruel Commandos. And Vice Admiral Rampart. Or the Raxian Assembly. With Ethan already spending some resources this phase, I think we can get a little more aggressive. We're going to go with the Raxian Assembly. Just having a 6-5 that can attack versus a 5-5 with Sentinel. Just try to push a little more base damage. But here we go up into the 7 resources turn. We know exactly what's going to come down. Unfortunately, I did not have a 6 resource unit, so I can use the Yularen ability. I just got 2-5, so I can only do one or the other. And there's a Sith Assassin just eyeing down those Trooper Corps, ready to take them out. The Zenuous Shadow Fighter has been doing consistent base damage every turn, though. That little guy's been getting in. I think he's dealt like 8 of the 11 base damage. So, yep. Trooper Corps doing 4 to Ethan's base, putting us both at 11. Well, Ethan also has Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser in hand. That's Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser and Thrawn. Oof. Yep, then 7 resources. And we're going to see the Arrestor Cruiser. Going to disclose the Bardone Ornithopter and a Dogmatic Shock Squad, making so the Raxian Assembly can no longer ready. Followed up with a Nubian Starskiff, which is actually not bad. That Raxian Assembly, it isn't official. So now Nubian Starskiff could potentially start letting us get some restore going. And look at this. And now there's a Nubian. Now there's also the Hutt Cartel Starfighter. That's 7 power in space. That takes out the Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. And one costs 4 resource, one costs 3 resource. So that Yularen can activate. Let's both attack in and try to take out that Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser in a single go. Very interesting game. We're both still at 11 base damage. I'm threatening 7, but have restore 2. Ethan's threatening 8. So mathematically, it puts me ahead by a little bit. It comes down to how aggressive does Ethan want to be here? Is he feeling like he can start winning the game, or does he want to start stabilizing? And it looks like stabilizing. It's actually going to attack into the Nubian Starskiff and just defeat that right away, which puts 4 damage on the carrier. And I'm absolutely going to use mine to take that out before something wacky happens. So now the Raxian Assembly is going to be ready for the next phase. Our Bardone Ornithopter disclosing Dogmatic Shock Squad to draw a card. I played the other FN Trooper Corps, getting more experience under the Raxian Assembly. And just like that, it's suddenly a 7-6. Now, you actually don't blame Ethan here for going the Ornithopter instead of saying the Dogmatic Shock Squad, because the Dogmatic Shock Squad just crumbles to the Raxian Assembly anyway. A second Bardone Ornithopter. Okay. So there's the game plan. Ethan's saying, I think I win by just getting a bunch of damage into space. He's got 8 damage threatening in space. I've currently got 11 damage on the ground. I have 13 base damage. Ethan's at 11. Both units cost 5, so I don't have a Yularen ability activation. And I know about the Dogmatic Shock Squad in hand. So we'll go 7 to base with the Raxian Assembly first. This is me saying I don't care about your Dogmatic Shock Squad. I want to hit your base really hard. Suddenly shoots up to 18 base damage. Shock Squad comes down. 7 resources, boom. Shadow Crawler ambushing in, taking that out, clearing the way for the Trooper Corps. The Bog Down Procedure slows down the Trooper Corps a bit, which does allow Ethan attacking with all of his space units. That is 8 damage, brings me up to 21. But I got a Shadow Crawler and a juiced up Raxian Assembly on the ground. Those two attacking in can deal 13 damage, and Ethan's at 18 base damage. So if I claim the initiative there, 1 Yularen activation does give me the win. Yep, and he sees that line too. Alright, there we go. Very surprised that the Grand Admiral Thrawn did come down. Ethan playing a little bit more defensive than I think. Like if the Thrawn came down just as an 8-7, I think that maybe could have done more, but we're going to go into Game 3. Alright, Game 3 here. Ethan on the button. Opens up with Assassin. I open up with Viper Probe Droid. That's a Viper Probe Droid every game. Ethan's hand, less exciting. Sith Assassin, Bardone Ornithopter, and a Rotunda Senate Guards. So no Cantwell Cruiser, no Thrawns, no massive late game threat that I need to worry about yet. Which is so fortunate for myself. Let's see where that Sith Assassin goes. Yep, goes to base. Trade out those units. Second Sith Assassin for Ethan. But I can go ISB Shuttle, and since my Viper Droid was defeated this phase, I actually get to make a spy. And more importantly, Ethan only had a 2 resource play, and I got to Mystic with 3. Now, that does allow Ethan to claim the initiative and can easily just take out the spy, but that means it's not going to base. So if nothing else, I played a 3-2 in space for 3. That basically let me restore 3, like this stops the Sith Assassin. And for some reason the Sith Assassin does go to base, well then that spy is absolutely taking it out. Instead we got 4 resources coming down and goes Rotunda Senate Guards. I think this is also kind of okay for me. The spy's not going to get any better, so we might as well get 3 damage into Ethan's base with the ISB Shuttle, and use the spy to put some pain on the Rotunda Senate Guards, because now they don't have Sentinel. Sith Assassin goes into mine. My follow-up play is my own Rotunda Senate Guards. And since I already got damage onto the other Senate Guards, I actually have a much better offensive position, because there's no real good way for Ethan to attack profitably with the units he currently has on board. And now we're going to go into the 5 resource turn. This is where the big plots come out. And I'm already concerned about Jabba coming out, exhausting my resources, making it so I can't plot something with Yularen. Thankfully, the damage already put onto the Senate Guards makes it so that we don't the Jabba being a unit activated ability off of that doesn't seem as bad. 1 resource spent by Ethan right away to put a damage onto the Senate Guards. We'll use Yularen. I can use my guard to take out the Sith Assassin. And then use the ISB shuttle to get more damage into Ethan's base. Ethan's follow-up. Good old Bardone Ornithopter. Which this is great for me, because now I actually do have a way of deploying Yularen and not having to worry about any nonsense. Then we get Mazamida. Not exactly an Effin Trooper Corps. It's like Effin Trooper Corps' little brother. It still gets an experience counter onto Colonel Yularen. And I believe Ethan just claims initiative here. Does not even want to deploy Jabba yet, because Jabba would just be so vulnerable. But she's rethinking it. Maybe he wants the Rotunda Senate Guards just to attack and take something out before it's too late. Yeah, I see him thinking it over. Is a Jabba deploy worth it this turn? Is it worth doing a Rotunda Senate Guard attack? I didn't quite catch what the card he disclosed was. It could be something like Dogmatic Shock Squad. And if that's the case, getting some damage onto Colonel Yularen would be quite good. Because then, if he plays the Shock Squad, none of my units on the ground can attack into the Shock Squad and survive. You see him kind of mathing it out here. Really in the tank about this Jabba deploy. Now for my position, yep, looks like Ethan just claims initiative. For my position, if he's that deep in the tank about a Jabba deploy or not, or even attacking with the Senate Guards, it says to me that maybe his hand isn't that good. Maybe he doesn't really have something yet that can easily counterplay everything that I've got going on. And this is my time to strike. So now we do see Jabba get deployed. Some plot cards ready. Yep. It's going to be a Lurking Snub Fighter and the Wrong Ride. So 2 cards get plotted out for 6 total resources. Exhausting 2 of my resources. And then using that Snub Fighter to exhaust 1 of my units. Yeah, exhausting Colonel Yularen. I suppose that's why he was contemplating so hard if it's worth deploying Jabba that previous turn. And I guess he really wanted to get those plot cards out. Yeah, it puts me in a kind of a struggle because now these Senate Guards are going to take out either unit on the ground that I don't attack with. But if I don't attack with those units, then the Bardone Ornithopter can attack into the ISB shuttle and take something out. And with 2 of my resources already used up, so I actually use my Snub Fighter, or my ISB to take out the Snub Fighter. Because now the Ornithopter doesn't have a target, so we don't have to worry about Jabba's activated or triggered ability. Because if the Senate Guards attacks into either one, they get defeated. We're going to see it go into Maz Amida, which makes sense. That has 4 hit points remaining versus the Senate Guards having 1 hit point remaining. And look at this. I go to base. And then Jabba finishes off the Senate guards. Oh, I claim initiative. I did not have anything else for 4 resources. That feels pretty bad. But I don't hate my position here. Yullirin's still a 5/7. 15 damage on Ethan's base. Single attack brings that up to 20. And all Ethan has out right now is a damaged Jabba the Hutt leader with 4 hit points remaining and a Bardotan Ornithopter. So there's only threatening 5 more damage back to my base, and I'm at 9. So when it comes to the damage race, right now, I am winning. We're going to go up to the 7 resource turn. Yeah, sure enough. Yullirin, 5 damage to base. 20 damage on Ethan's base. Only 10 remaining hit points. 2-turn clock. Hold on. Just uses Jabba to get 2 more damage into mine. I have a Shadow Crawler in hand. Yeah, I'm just going to get that down. Shadow Crawler, ambushing in Jabba. Jabba unit leader defeated. And another big threat that can do a lot of damage. But there's that Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh boy. This card. It's an 8/7. When deployed, the opponent can choose one of their units. If they do, Grand Admiral Thrawn captures it. If the opponent refuses, Grand Admiral Thrawn gets readied. I say, go ahead. Ready, Admiral Thrawn. Which is a pretty ballsy of me as we try to figure out base damage totals. The reason I did this is because back in my hand, there was a Naboo security force and Cruel Commandos, so even though Thrawn can get some damage in now, I have ways of making sure I don't have to worry about it in the future. Ends up using Thrawn to just take out Yullirin. It does survive. I claim initiative. I'm up to 14 base damage. Ethan's still at 20. Still has much bigger units on board. But now he's a little closer. We gotta find ways of getting this game locked up. Got to be careful about defeating the Grand Admiral Thrawn too, because he also has a when defeated ability that says you may have another one of your units capture an enemy unit. So if I put down another unit and then say Thrawn is defeated, well then that Shadow Crawler gets captured by the Bardotan Ornithopter. Thankfully I do have the initiative. So if I take out Thrawn now, then there's no capture at all. Or, attack that base. 6 more damage to Ethan's base. This is going to put him up to 26. Still saying, I don't think you got it. I'm going to keep the pressure up. Force Ethan to play defensively. And then you see Ethan's hand. Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. Another way of taking care of the Shadow Crawler. Still has Dogmatic Shock Squad in hand. Still has Lone Shark in hand. Plus another Ornithopter. Can you keep that pressure up? Shadowcrawler still has 5 hit points remaining. So an ambushing Lone Shark doesn't quite do it. Pretty tight game here. Talking through the lines about if Thrawn hits the Shadowcrawler and then Ornithopter has nothing to capture. He's going to delay the decision and just attack with the Ornithopter. Which is actually pretty good, because now if I play something else, Thrawn can attack into the Shadowcrawler and then uses When Defeated ability to capture something. So I play the Darrow Commando. It's a 3/4. It's not quite enough to attack on its own. However, that Shadowcrawler is. Very meticulous plays here. A lot of lines, a lot of possibilities. I still have 5 resources up. Could be something like Cruel Commandos. And I think because of Grand Admiral Thrawn with that When Defeated ability, best thing we could do is just try to go wide. Look at this. So Grand Admiral Thrawn's going to take out the Darrow Commando. When defeated, Bardon Ornithopter captures the Shadowcrawler. Follow-up play from myself. Consular's Cruiser. That's something I can take out the Ornithopter, and then Shadowcrawler comes right back down. I don't know if you saw, but there's a second Consular's Cruiser in the hand. Cantwell Cruiser comes down. There's the Disclose, so now Cantwell Cruiser can't attack, and there's a 6/7 on Ethan's side. And since it can't attack, it can't take out the Ornithopter and get that Shadowcrawler back. Now it's getting a little scary. With that Disclose, we know about Dogmatic Shock Squad. So I gotta find a way to get just 4 more points of base damage, while also not dying myself. I am at 17, and Ethan now has a pretty big threat in the air, or in space. I have the initiative. For 2, we're going to go Viper Probe Droid. Look at the hand. Alright, how can we play around this? Contempt for Culture, Starfighter, the Dogmatic Shock Squad, an Ornithopter, F and Trooper Corps, and the Lone Shark. And this is me saying, alright, what do you have that could possibly stop me from winning, if not this turn, next turn? Yep, Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. Takes out 1 cruiser. Follow-up play, another cruiser. So now this cruiser can attack in for lethal. Ethan has ways of dealing with it, though. You can see him kind of mathing it out. Best way to handle this. Doesn't really want to lose his Ornithopter, because that just means giving me Shadowcrawler right back. Forced him to claim initiative. I follow up with Atreya's Acolyte. So now I'm gumming up the ground game. Neither are lethal threats on their own, but if we get wide enough, it's going to be a little more difficult for Ethan to deal with. Yep, and his Cantwell Cruiser is going to take out my cruiser immediately. Viper Probe Droid gets in. That's 3 more damage. Ethan goes up to 29. Knowledge and defense, -2, -2 on the Traya's Acolyte. Now the Traya's Acolyte is a 0-2 for this phase. So that can't get in and finish off Ethan. A Naboo security force with no disclose. Just putting out a big threat, basically. And there's the Dogmatic Shock Squad. 3 more damage to my base. And this is a lot of ground units. And all it's stopping me right now is a Dogmatic Shock Squad. But if you remember the draft, we do have something that can deal with this. And I think it's a card I've been holding into my hand for some time now. Second Shadowcrawler. Ambushing right in. So now does Ethan have a way of stopping 3 ground attackers? And it doesn't look like he does. All right. Very interesting towards the end there with the Grand Admiral Thrawn and the capturing and having to play around it. I thought Ethan had a way of dealing with my Consular's cruisers and letting that Cantwell get some more damage in, but I suppose not after looking at his hand. That was very tight. Very good game. Very happy with that one. And with that, we win our first match. Welcome to match number 3. Unfortunately, the camera did have a recording error, so we lost match 2. Apologies for that. It was against a Jabba Green, Troy, playing Jabba Green, and I managed to win that match 2-0. So now we're facing Zayn on Dedra Blue. Opens with Donnie Pilgrim, activates Dedra to deal 2 damage to Traya's Acolyte or draws a card. I'll take the 2 damage. And I claim initiative. Zayn we've played before here on the channel. This is I believe he's like 11 years old, maybe 12. Very solid card player. We use Traya's Acolyte to get 2 damage into Zayn's base right away. Yep, just activates Dedra Miro. And this is like the typical play pattern. Keep activating Dedra. Try to get your opponent to get a card in your hand, because then Dedra is a much better unit on deploy. Instead, we just go Viper Probe Droid and take a look. Sith Assassin, Imperial Occupier, Coruscant, Imperial Police, and Enforcer Squadron. Nothing too crazy. But an easy way to counter Dedra is, whenever she's activated, is just kind of take the damage. And thankfully having something like Traya's Acolyte as a 2/4 is great. Because with each time Dedra gets activated, it forces Zayn to play off curve. Like starting off with a 1-drop and then going to a 2-drop. It's not really that strong of stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't really have a strong follow-up from my 3 resources either. All I could do was play another Probe Droid. Which does handle some of the things on Zayn's side of the board, sure, but, you know, you'd want something a little stronger. Darrow Commando would have been nice. I would have accepted Wilro HUD, frankly. Yep, we use Probe Droid to take out Donnie Pilgrim. Zayn gets to restore 1 base damage off that defeat. He's already counting out cards in hand, figuring out if slamming down Dedra looks good. We're going to do another Dedra activation. Yep, I'm just going to let the Probe Droid get taken down. I go Nubian Starskiff. Because now, even if Zayn does get aggressive, Yularen coming out and letting that Starskiff attack and start restoring kind of undoes a lot of this early aggression from Dedra. She does have Raid 2. Zayn's got more cards in hand than I do, allowing him to get in for 4, so I'm up to 7 base damage. Zayn's only at 1. Sith Assassin, Imperial Occupier, Dedra all in the field over on Zayn's. But here you see one of the problems with Dedra. It's like, yes, you're ahead on cards right now. You got that raid 2, your attack in is a 4/5. However, plot cards exist. As soon as the opponent deploys and plays a plot card just like that, they are back even or even possibly ahead on hand size, which just really shuts Dedra down. And just like that, yep, there's Yularen, and I've got plenty of plot cards like, say, F and Trooper Corps. And this is one of the best plot cards you could get with Yularen, because now he gets an experience that makes him a 5/7. The Star Skiff can start restoring, and Yularen just destroys Dedra. Like, she's only a 2/5. So defensively, not doing a whole lot. See Sith Assassin go to base here. And yep. Yularen just takes out Dedra. Nubian Starskiff gets into base for 4. And I'm already restoring 2. That brings me down to 8 base damage. Zayn at 5. And look at this. I got a 4/4, a 5/5, and a 4/5 on the field right now. And we've already seen Zayn's hand. The Occupier does 2 more damage to base. I'll claim initiative. We saw the Coruscant City Police earlier. I'm actually going to see the Enforcer Squadron. Because now Zayn's thinking, uh-oh, that Restore's going to get out of hand. I might have to slow that down. But I've already claimed initiative, so I'm definitely going to get that Restore off again. And the more ground units I see from Zayn, the better. I have so many good Sentinels just to deal with a lot of that. Yep, and sure enough, Yularen and the Starskiff go into Zayn's base for 9 total damage. I restore another 2. Damage race wildly swinging in my favor. And I like this attack to base rather than taking out the Enforcer Squadron because the Restore 2 is just so valuable here. So now if the Enforcer Squadron doesn't go into the Starskiff, it's basically only doing 3 damage a turn because the Starskiff's going to keep restoring. Dedra activation deals 2 damage to the F and Trooper Corps. I follow up with Political Bully, allowing me to take out the Sith Assassin because, again, Colonel Yularen's an official. And that protects the F and Trooper Corps from getting attacked by the Sith Assassin. So now if Yularen goes down, Starskiff can still restore. You see a Darth Scion get played. None of my units were defeated this phase, sorry. So it does not get any extra experience. Darth Scion is just a 5/5 for 5. Doing his best impression of a Congress of Malastare right now. And the F and Trooper Corps gets damage to base. There is a world where maybe you claim initiative there. But I think Zayn wants to use that Enforcer Squadron to take out the Star Skiff, so I might as well get some extra base damage in. I have 3 resources up, and I have more units to play. But I do just take the initiative at this point because I think it's better I get my Yularen and attacks in before Darth Scion does something wacky. Especially since we could have cards in the deck that easily deal with the Darth Scion. You know what I'm talking about. It's that Shadow Crawler ambushing right in. Scion immediately defeated. And now this is an overwhelming board presence for Zayn to deal with. Could see something like Dogmatic Shock Squad come down. That would certainly buy some time. It's a Zeton Maj. Yeah, that's a guy. Yep, so we attack with Yularen, doing 5 more damage to base. Choosing not to attack with Political Bully. I guess just in case he plays something else I need to worry about. Just claims initiative. Alright, yeah. Do 6 more damage to your base. Zayn's at 29, I'm at 12. Can't imagine there's a whole lot could do here. Zeton, because Zayn did claim initiative, Zeton Maj did do 2 more damage to me. Which, you know, I'm at 12, so whatever. And yeah, nothing for Zayn to stop this onslaught. So a pretty quick game 1 as we go into game 2. And I feel like that kind of came down to early control of Dedra Miro's activated ability in the early turns. Just keeping them off that damage, keeping them off the cards. Not being afraid to let a unit take damage so that they're not drawing extra. And taking just that one hit is for 4 is fine. Because the Yularen deploy turn was going to be so good. And having those Yularen deploys, having 2 FN Tripper Core, having Mazamida, there's a very high likely chance that anytime Yularen comes down, he's going to get that experience and just to be able to answer Dedra. Let's go into game 2. Zayn once again on the initiative. With Dedra and how much he likes to activate that ability, though, may not matter too much. It's a lot like Leia. Is he going to play? Yep, we see the Supreme Council Aid. Once again, getting a 1 resource, activating Dedra. I thankfully got Treyas Acolyte as my opening play again, which is great because that can easily take the hit from Dedra. A quick claim of the initiative. Yeah, and like that, Zayn's off the initiative. Instead, we're just going to trade out here. Zayn getting his own Treyas Acolyte. And I go the ISB Shuttle. Because now I also get a Spy. And then Dedra activation. Actually letting it defeat the ISB Shuttle. Because again, keeping him off that extra card draw. Making Dedra's deploy turn as weak as we can. No damage has been dealt to my base yet. I got the Spy. Yeah, 2 to base. Take that. An easy target for Treyas Acolyte, absolutely. But it also means I'm not taking 2 damage to my base. And if Dedra tries to zap it, I just let the Spy die. Look at that. It's a fast Dedra deploy. So now if I play a card, this does put Zayn up 1 ahead. So Dedra does get the raid. But there's that Nubian Starskiff again. Very familiar. Looking a lot like the first game. So Dedra hits the base for 4. Claim initiative. Treyas Acolyte takes out the Spy. So yeah, like, even after all that, we just got just 4 damage to the base. Zeton Maj does also come down. But I've already claimed the initiative. Restore 2 in space is probably going to do a lot of work. So if Yularen deploys and we get a plot, we go right back to parity in our hands so that Dedra does not get the raid 2. And sure enough, there's Colonel Yularen. There's the Mazamida. The experience goes on Yularen. It's another 5/7 that could just easily take out Dedra Miro. Plus, we got Nubian Starskiff doing some restore. So now Zayn's got to figure out how he wants to do his attacks. Whatever he doesn't attack with might get defeated by Yularen. Yeah, so one attack with Dedra, realize it's only going to be 2. Still goes for it. which looks great for me because now Yularen can defeat Dedra, and I restore 2, plus get 4 more damage into Zayn's base. Yularen still has 5 hit points left, so Traya's Acolyte and Zeton Maj would have to both attack into Yularen just to defeat him. Look at that, more attacks to base. Plus another 4. Just gets down the Darth Scion again, which again, no units on my side of the field were defeated, so it gets no experience. It's just a 5/5. I feel like those attacks might have been a little greedy. Like the pressure, the base damage I can do, especially in space right now, whilst also getting restore at the same time. He has seen the Shadow Crawlers. They know they exist. No Enforcer Squadron this time to stop the Starskiff. Mazamida also an official. So Starskiff has 2 ways of making sure it gets that restore on attacks right now. Those silver booster packs that you saw were the weekly play packs that you get for free for playing at your local card shop. So as a reminder, as a Star Wars Unlimited player, play at your local card shop. Show your support, help foster the community, be active in the game. And with my initiative, we'll have Yularen take out Zeton Maj. 4 damage to Zayn's base, and I get that restore too. And I actually like that attack because now, still, anything that tries to attack into Yularen will get defeated. He's got 5 power, that defeats Darth Scion. The Traya's Acolyte could finish it, but then that's not damage to my base. And again, just more attacks to base from Zayn. Surprisingly aggressive. And there's the Rotunda Senate Guard. So with Darth Scion now having attacked, I can easily get a Sentinel down that stops the Traya's Acolyte. Now there's no way of Colonel Yularen being defeated. Activating Dedra, targeting Yularen, and I say, sure, draw your card. And at this point, that's fine. After Dedra is defeated, letting your opponent draw an extra card really isn't that big of a deal. And since they're spending a resource doing that, it also means they're playing off curve. Like they're really not playing that big of stuff. And then there's a Sith Assassin. 5 units down. Zayn still with 5 resources available. 13 base damage on both. But again, like my side of the field just looks way better. Zayn just follows up the Viper Probe Droid, and look at this. Condemn both Shadow Crawlers. Just showing both Shadow Crawlers and saying, how do you plan on dealing with this? Well, there's a Let's Call It War to finish off Yularen. Doesn't have initiative, so doesn't target anything else. And again, I think that's pretty fine here, because now we can use Yularen a little more effectively. And if for some reason Zayn plays out anything that's moderately threatening, Shadow Crawler just instantly taking it down. Seems pretty good. The Condemn in my hand does look awkward though, since, you know, don't have blue villainy. Blue or villainy, yeah, well, we got the Shadow Crawler. Yeah, so we'll Shadow Crawler right away. Take out Darth Scion. And just say, okay, here's all these threats. How do you want to stop them? Probe Droid could take out one of them. I think playing the Shadow Crawler here first makes more sense. That way, Darth Scion can't attack into one of my units and survive. He goes Aggressive Negotiations. Probe Droid attacks into my base for 6. Euler activation attack with a Star Skiff and Sith Assassin, dealing 7 damage to Zayn's base. He's up to 20, I'm at 17. That aggressive negotiations seems very greedy. Like, again, this is one of those situations where you have to look at the board state and ask yourself, who's the beatdown? Like, who's winning right now? Like, do I need to play defensively and take out my opponent's units, or can I start pushing base damage? And the very clear answer here is, like, look at my side of the board, look at Zayn's. I'm not sure why the aggressive negotiations went straight to base. Like, the probe droid absolutely should have been used to take out on any one of my units. And that forces Zayn just to take initiative. Still with 5 units on my side of the field, and yeah, Zayn's got nothing else to follow up with. Kind of a greedy attack there at the end, but didn't know the hand, so maybe there was nothing else really going on, and just wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. So there we go. Probably the last possible draft you could see for Secrets of Power, ending on a 3-0. Apologies for not getting that second match. Sorry, Troy. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. We're going to continue to focus on limited play, especially in-person play, right here on this channel. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Leave any comments down below, any of your thoughts on the plays or the draft itself. Like the video, share it with your other Star Wars friends and in your Star Wars Unlimited Discords and all that. And please, stay dialed in to Channel Swoo.